Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today, this is going to be my top 10 spells that are currently in Standard. Now, there is so many great spells currently in Standard. Keeping it to 10 is quite hard, but I've chose what I think are 10 of the best today. What I'd love you to do is put what you think are the 10 of the best currently spells in Standard. Now that can mean instants, sorceries, enchantments and planeswalkers. I've recently done the creatures, did over my 10 best creatures. There'll be a link for that video below in the description. But there is a vast amount because this incorporates all the spells. So without further ado, let's get on with the first spell we're looking at. And it's one of the most played removal spells currently in Standard, and that is Heartless Act. 2 mana, instant speed, choose one, destroy target creature with no counters on it, remove up to 3 counters from target creature, which also can obviously be a removal spell as well, depending on the amount of counters that are on a target creature. This is played in basically any deck that's playing black. This is great removal for 2 mana at instant speed. Destroying a target creature with no counters on it can be, you know, it can be pretty good. Unless you're playing the old Selesnya counters deck, then this sometimes is a little bit worse, but you can remove counters as well, which is very important, so it's not actually a dead card. Played in around 40-50% of the meta decks, and if you're a beginner to MTG Arena, which you might be if you're looking at this video, and you're getting to see which cards maybe to fill your collection with, Heartless Act is certainly one of those because it's a great removal spell, and it's an uncommon as well, so you're not going to risk your rare, you know, your rare and your mythic wild cards, because we all know how hard it is to grind for them indeed. But playing your uncommons, Heartless Act, definitely get that one in your collection. Now coming in at number 9, it's a card that honestly makes everyone sigh. It's Eugene. It's Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. 8 mana you think would be unplayable, but it's not unplayable. Standard has some of the best ramp I've seen for quite a few years, and that makes Ugin so easily playable. It could be a control finisher in a build as well, but this is most likely seen in Timor ramp, Sultai ramp, anything that's ramping out with some really good cards. Ugin is going to be there at the top end. Has a +2 effect, 3 damage to any target. I had a new beginner player to Standard the other day saying, you know, how good is Ugin? And I was like, it's literally one of the best cards there is. It really, really is. Super powerful. It was reprinted in M21. It can be a board wipe with the -X, and the -10 can really swing you back into a game. Now you only need 2 upticks and a downtick to get that as well, because it starts with 7 loyalty, then you can gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and potentially put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Eugene, super strong, always called for occasionally to be banned because people just don't like playing against it. It is one of those cards, like I say, like a turn 1 Thoughtseize makes you sigh, a turn 1 Crab can make you sigh. Eugene as we call it, is definitely one of the best cards currently in Standard. Now this card here, Emergent Ultimatum, very, very good spell. Sorcery speed, double black, triple green, double blue. Now, like I said, ramp is easy in Standard at the moment, so this is why this is easily viable to play. And its effect is super strong. Search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffle that card back in, and you may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost, but then you have to exile the Emergent Ultimatum, which is, it's not a terrible thing to be honest. You got your ramp spells in there, very easy to get to this on, you know, turns a lot earlier than it should be played. This, then they go and fetch 3 really game-winning cards. Recently it's been like Tibalt, it's been Cure, Seagulls, the Enchantment, and maybe a few other different cards mixed in there as well. But Emergent Ultimatum really is like a win-con card. It's, you know, I think it's well costed, and I think people wouldn't dislike this so much. I think the problem in Standard is the ramp, which is what makes this, you know, people are playing this deck a lot. But Emergent Ultimatum for me is no doubt a great spell. I've not actually tried this in a different format like Commander or anything like that, but I know one thing, in Standard, Emergent Ultimatum decks are pretty much everywhere, and it's a super strong card. Now, one of the new cards from Kaldheim, I love this spell. I love the sagas. Binding the Old Gods, for me, is just absolute value. 4 mana, 2 black and a green. Like I said, ramp out can get it sometimes a little bit quicker, but early, mid-game, late game, this card is still good. Tick up counter number 1, the lore counter is destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls, so it can literally destroy anything from planeswalkers, you know, literally anything, annoying creatures. 2 gets you the ramp, search your library for a forest card, put that battlefield tapped and then shuffle your library, which is the only downside for me, is that it comes in tapped. But I think untapped, you know, it's a 4-mana saga that does some great stuff. And if you're running a creature deck, the lore count of 3 is creatures you control gain Death Touch at end of turn. Now, you know this card is good because people are playing this in, you know, decks that don't have a lot of creatures still as well, because the first 2 lore counters for 4 mana are still pretty special. Destroying any kind of target and then searching your library, ramping yourself out a bit, this is a super strong card, and I love it that it's uncommon as well. For me, from Kaldheim, this is definitely one of the best uncommon sagas. Now, I've been talking about ramp, and of course, Cultivate has to be on the list. It is an amazing reprint. You see it all the time in other formats. You know, I'm talking mainly Commander, but still in Standard, it is OP. It is so strong. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards to reveal those cards and put one onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle your library. It's the, you know, some of the best ramp there is 3 mana. In some decks as well, they're playing a turn 1 Goose and then playing Cultivate on turn 2, which is, you know, that is sometimes game breaking. If you're playing your Emergent Ultimatum decks or trying to ramp towards Ugin, Cultivate is the card that will bind a lot of those cards together because they can literally get you there so much faster. If you want to play any sort of ramp deck, anything that, you know, plays big spells, to have, you know, if you've got green in your deck, you're going to need Cultivate. Cultivate, one of the most played spells in Standard because ramp is so prevalent, and Cultivate is, it's just such a great card. Now we're down to the top 5, and coming in next is a 1-mana removal spell, Blood Chief's Thirst. This was definitely, when this set was dropped, was one of the, you know, highlights of the set for me. Great uncommon, destroy target creature or planeswalker with coverage mana cost 2 or less. If this spell was kicked, instead destroy target creature or planeswalker. Now, you know, Fatal Push was amazing. It was instant speed. You'd have to, you know, get rid of something with lesser mana cost, and then you, if something left the battlefield on your side, you would then get something, I think it was 4 or less. Blood Chief's Thirst is sorcery seal, but it has that extra ability of the kicker, which I like. Now, for me, Fatal Push was probably better, but Blood Chief's Thirst is still very close to it because of the effect that you can do once you pay that 4-mana kicker cost. So early game, still great, whereas Fatal Push sometimes late game might not be quite as good. This late game is still going to be really good because you can destroy target creature or planeswalker for that 4 mana. This makes this absolutely premium removal, and you will see this in many decks. There's 2 of us, or 3 of us, or 4 of in the Standard meta. There's no reason you put this with Heartless Act as well, and you can see why Black has some of the best removal currently in Standard, and it's in all the top meta decks. Coming in at number 4, Shark Typhoon. Let's make some blue shark creature tokens with flying Sharknadoes. Great enchantment. Slamming this down for 6 is still good for me, although apparently the pro way to play it, as you know, as I don't play it sometimes, is to cycle it and then get yourself a massive shark and start attacking with it and draw a card, which is obviously a very good way to play it. Me personally, I love slamming it down as a 6-mana Shark Typhoon enchantment, and I like making loads of sharks, but I will play it as cycling as well because sometimes that's what you need. If you've got an Ugin down, like they've tapped out to play Ugin, and you've got open big mana, chucking in this after the end of turn and then attacking it and possibly killing Ugin is a good way to do it, you know. This card is very flexible. Seen in multiple Yorion decks in the meta, so seen in multiple, you know, it can be in ramp decks as well. It's a really cool card, seen from the sideboard, mainly in the main board for me though. This is just amazing. When you cycle the Typhoon, like I said, you create an XX blue shark token with flying, and then you get to draw a card because it does have cycling. As an enchantment itself, I love it as an enchantment. Playing loads of different spells and just making a shark on the cast trigger as well, so even if it gets countered, you still will get your shark. Shark Typhoon, top card, absolutely love it. A 6-mana enchantment is definitely one of the best spells in Standard. Now down to the final 3, and what you notice about these, like the previous one and the next 2 cards, is that their mana cost, but it can be a little bit cheaper, the Great Henge. Great Henge, 7 and double green, spell cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This legendary artifact is a reason why this card in paper is so expensive. I think it's something like $50 or something like that. It was last time I looked. It's hideously priced. The spell costs X less to cast, like I said. Add 2 double green mana and you gain 2 life for the tap effect. And whenever a non-creature token enters the battlefield, gets a 1/1 counter and you draw a card. This is an absolute engine. This is what can really, if you're starting to, you know, peter out in your aggro deck, your Rakdos aggro, or your, not Rakdos aggro, your Gruul aggro, sorry, or something like that, This is the card that control players hate because it can get their opponents back in there. They start making bigger creatures, they start gaining life, they start drawing cards. It's an epic card. Still, as much as I love it, a bit overly priced in paper, I've got to say. That's just me because I want one just for, you know, I want it for Commander. It needs to drop down in price for me to get that. I've never had the luck and the pack pulls for this one, but this is still, for me, definitely one of the best cards in Standard. It's epic. It does so much. It gives you so much value. And it doesn't seem it because it doesn't actually win the game itself, but it does. It helps you win the game. And it's a very important card in the Standard meta. Final 2 cards now. And now we're on to Ember Cleave for double red. How many times have you been cleaved? All you players out there on the arena, I've been cleaved far too many times. Opponents always have it in their hand, you know they do. It's got flash, costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control, so potentially it's all, you know, they're going to be chucking it down for double red. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. A quick creature gets +1/1 and has double strike, and importantly has trample. Even just the equip cost is only 3 as well. This is a sweet, sweet card and has been ripping Standard apart for many, many months. Brawl aggro, mono red, they play this and it is literally one of the best game-winning cards that those decks have. 6 mana you think, but it never costs 6 mana. Its majority of the time will cost 2 or 3. But even if you're just attacking with 1 creature sometimes, you can still get beat down with something. 1 creature could be a 4/3, 5/4, you put this on and all of a sudden they're doing you for 12 damage, double strike. I mean, it's just hideous. I personally can't wait for this card to leave. It's not a card that I generally play, although I have switched to Brawl aggro a bit because it's just such an easy deck to grind the meta ladder with. And that mainly is because of good aggro creatures, and then you chuck in the big cleave on there as well to get those final bits of damage in. And they never know which one to block. If they haven't got the same blockers, you just put it on the other one and generally you win the game. Cleave, amazing card. Love it. Absolutely can't wait for it to leave though. And now the number 1 card for me, it's a common. It is. It's called Negate. This is an amazing card. Counter target non-creature spell. So every spell that I've just spoke about for the last 10 minutes or so, this can counter it and it won't even enter the field for 2 mana. This is what makes this card amazing. It can stop every single spell, not creature obviously, every creature spell that potentially might try to enter the battlefield, and it's all for 2 mana. It's very easy for control decks to leave this mana up. It's one of the best sideboard cards to come in, but people will play this in the main mainly because of all those great spells that I just spoke about. They are, you know, game defining spells, and if you can leave up 2 mana just to stop that, that is epic. And Negate for me, a multiple reprinted card, and it's still played in the, you know, the majority of decks. It's one of the highest played cards in the Standard meta, and that is because it is just amazing. 2 mana, it's a common card. Definitely if you're a new player to the game and you're playing blue, this is a card that you want in your deck and your sideboard, so this is an easy craft for you as well. It is, what can I say, it's just absolutely amazing. So that was my top 10 spells. Now, very hard to keep to 10, very, very hard indeed. I'd love it if you could just put in the comments some of the, you know, spells that you love and think are really iconic in Standard at the moment that are doing really well. There's plenty. Not just cards that you like, just, you know, because there's cards here that I don't like Ember Cleave, but I wouldn't restrict it for not being in the list. You just sometimes know the power of a card, and that is certainly it. But I'd love to, you know, hear what you think, and maybe some cards that you can't wait to see the back of from Standard. That would just make me laugh as well. Big shout out to all my Patreons. Thank you very much. I love you for all that extra support. If that's something you're all interested in, maybe you want to support me, help keep making me videos. It really does help out that extra support. It really, really does. Check out the link in the description. There's a link to the Patreon. Go and have a little look there as well. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please give it a big thumbs up. It helps support the channel. I know that you like these types of videos as well. And subscribe if you're new. Anyway, you lot take care, and I'll see you on the next one.